All right. Namaste. This is a typical greeting you will find in India or amongst Hindus, which is quite interesting. You have heard about Namaste?
Yeah.
You know the meaning? Who knows the meaning?
Peace, probably, or not? Peace be with you, something like that, no?
This is Salam Alaikum. But pretty close. Namaste means honor to you, respect to you. In Hinduism it is that you will not find something like this is the Hinduism. Like maybe in Christianity you have also many different traditions. You have Catholic Church, you have Protestant Church, and so many other things, Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons and God who knows. So in Hinduism it is even more widespread. I have even met atheistic Hindus. There are Hindus, they believe only in the light, we are all light. And then I ask them, so where is God? And they say, everywhere. So for me that is kind of atheism, because theism means there is a God. But we can discuss this later. So one thing what is very important to know is that Hinduism is a very old religion, and just to give you one idea, in India you have very big rivers. One river you might know is the river Ganges. Maybe you have seen some documentary. So there is also another river mentioning in the old scriptures of Hinduism, and that river is called Saraswati. The problem was when the Europeans came to India, let's say 200 years ago, 100 years ago, they couldn't find that river, Saraswati. It was just mentioned in the scriptures. So they thought this is just some mythology, some, fairy tale river. It was described as very huge river, like the Mississippi maybe, very broad, but they couldn't find it. So they thought this is all fairy tale. Then, a couple of years ago, they made some geological photographs from India, and they recognized a huge riverbed on the west side, and they found out that this is actually the river. So then they tried to understand how long ago this river was dried up. And there are somewhere, some say maybe 10,000 years ago, maybe even, some say even longer. So by this you can get an idea how old these scriptures are, speaking of a river that has dried up 10,000 years ago or even longer. So those scriptures are called the Vedas. Or the Vedic scriptures. Interestingly, this is Sanskrit. Veda is Sanskrit, and Sanskrit is an old language. Some linguists, those are the scientists of languages, they claim that Sanskrit is the mother of all languages. Sanskrit. So it is a very old language, and the amazing thing is that most of European languages have some tight connection with Sanskrit. However, this old language is far more complicated, or let's say refined, even than Latin and Old Greek. So it is a very sophisticated language. And that is also a problem, because our understanding of history is that, let's say, 10,000 years ago, people were more primitive, and now we are more advanced. Yeah? But you see, you have now a language that is 5,000, 10,000 years old, or even older, and it is more refined. Just to give you an idea, we in German, we have one word for love, Liebe. So, but we understand there are different kinds of love. For instance, the love between a child and a mother is different than the love between husband and wife, just to give you an example. So we have to explain the quality of the love with some additional sentences so that everyone gets the point. In Sanskrit, you have more than 20 different words for love. And just by hearing that one word, you understand which kind of love. That's all. So this is just to give you an idea. So, as I said, this is a problem for our historic worldview. The Vedic scriptures, there are many different scriptures in Hinduism, and also one interesting thing is that the idea of Hinduism is that everyone is picked up where he or she stands. According to our consciousness, there are scriptures in Hinduism lifting the person up. So, but as we know, each of us, we all have different levels of consciousness. Some people, if you do not mind, they are more gross, and other people are more subtle. They can understand subtle things very easily. There are other persons, you might know, you have in your circles, you have persons, you consider them more gross, more rough. They cannot see the fine nuances, and if you look in your circles of friends or relatives, you see people, they are more, they see the finer notes. So the Vedic scriptures, they have scriptures for people who are more gross and scriptures for people who are more elevated. The Hindus, the people who call themselves Hindu, they have more or less one thing in common. They recognize that the origin of their religion, called Hinduism, are the Vedas. And there's one very important book. We have here a poster featuring this book. It is the Bhagavad Gita. Maybe you have heard about the Bhagavad Gita. This is the most recognized and popular books of Hinduism. So this story, it was spoken on a battlefield 5,000 years ago. And you see on this poster, you see Krishna and Arjuna. And in India, every child knows the story of Krishna and Arjuna, as in Europe everyone knows the story of Jesus Christ, how he was born and he was hidden away from the king. Quite similar story. So the Bhagavad Gita is the most important book, and if you quote something from the Bhagavad Gita in Hinduism, then often the discussion is over. If you quote the exact right verse from this book, then people will agree most of the time. So we thought that we give you a short idea about the most important teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, which you all might have heard of. One is reincarnation. Who has not heard about reincarnation? And the other topic, very tightly connected, is karma. Yes? So both topics are explained in Bhagavad Gita. Before we go into this, our idea was that, because this is also a part of Hinduistic tradition, we want to uplift the atmosphere a little bit by what we call mantra meditation. So you have heard about mantra. Who is not sure, 100% sure what mantra means? Please don't be shy. So mantra, just to explain it very shortly, is also a Sanskrit word, mantra. Yeah? So this word is derived from two words. The first one is manas, and the second one is trayati. So, as I said, the Sanskrit language is connected to European language. Manas means the mind. So you can get a vague idea. Manas is the mind, and trayati is that delivers or frees the mind from bad or destructive or degrading thoughts. So our mind, I can see in your faces, our mind is always active. We are always thinking something. Who is this guy telling us about Hinduism, or why she has a blue jacket today? Our mind is always active, isn't it? And sometimes our mind can make us crazy. Who of you has experienced that sometimes our mind is making us crazy? Yeah. So, mantra is some recitation, if that is correct English, of some powerful sound that when we repeat it and we absorb in it, we become freed from degrading thoughts and become very uplifted. So we brought one very powerful mantra to you, and that is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Vasudeva is another name in Sanskrit in this Vedic scriptures. There's one scripture called the Vishnu Sahasranama, the 1,000 names of Vishnu or God. So in Hinduism or in the Vedas, you have 1,000 names of God because God has so many qualities. Like the name Krishna is the most attractive. Or Vishnu is another name of God in Sanskrit, is the all-pervading. And then there's Antaryami or Paramatma, the Lord in everyone's heart. Also very interesting. We will come to that later. The Vedas speak about that God is in everyone's heart, not only human beings, but also animals and also even plants and trees, insects. Everywhere where there is life, God is also in the heart. So Shivatma Prabhu has brought his symbols, and if you like, it is totally free and we will not charge you anything for participating. You can join us. The system is Shivatma will call the mantra and we can respond. And then there is some exchange. And maybe you will feel the magic. So the topic we want to discuss a little bit is the topic of reincarnation. So this is a very interesting topic in the Bhagavad Gita, reincarnation. The idea of the Bhagavad Gita is that we are all eternal spiritual souls living in a temporary physical or material body. When the soul, or other way, when our body is falling apart, like imagine you have a car, you're driving, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and you have to do more and more reparations. And at one point it becomes ridiculous. The car is just too old. It is, and in Germany especially, you have all these these complicated laws. You cannot drive this car without this with this gas, I don't know, diesel. So at one point it becomes ridiculous. You have to buy yourself a new car. So in the same way, at one point, this body, now most of us, we are young, but be assured, in 30, 40, 50 years or so, you will get the point. Our bodies become more and more often sick, and maybe some disease, and we become weaker. As you can see in this picture, I guess you are somewhere in this stage now. So the body gets older and weaker, and at one point the body dies, but the spiritual soul travels to the next body. I have a nice picture for you. 1 second. So here you see the spiritual soul. Hi. It travels from one body to the next. So often we think that our body is just stretching, but it is not so. The Bhagavad Gita, and I will read one very famous verse for you. It is the verse 13 in the 2nd chapter. Please listen carefully, and after the class I will ask you if you still can recognize this verse. Okay? In Sanskrit it goes like Dehinusmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So, what Krishna, the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, is saying here, our modern medical science has investigated a couple of decades before, namely that our body consists of, I don't know, millions or even billions of cells. So the system is that one cell is dying and is replaced by another fresh one. You know that? You have heard about this? Every cell, our body consists of billions of cells. I think just in the brain are millions of cells. Each of them will die and will be replaced by a fresh one. And modern science has found out that after more or less 10 years, our entire body is completely new. All the cells are replaced by new ones. So 10 years before, there is no cell left that you have now. You get the point? So I don't know, you are 16, 17, 18 years old. Let's say after 8 or 9 years, all your cells have become replaced. That means each of you has traveled through 2 entire bodies. That's a fact. It's not a made-up story. It is confirmed by modern science. And so the question is, when I ask you, were you the same person 10 years ago? I try to remember some names. Vanya. Have you been the same person 10 years ago?
No, I haven't been.
You were someone else.
I mean, it depends what you actually mean by the person.
You had some other ideas, yes, or another understanding, or some other taste. Maybe you like now other music than 10 years ago, right? But you, the self, has not changed. It is still the same you. You might have other ideas, but still you can remember 10 years ago. So that is what Krishna says here in the Bhagavad Gita. The self or the soul or the Atma travels through these bodies, and at the time of death it is just, the soul just goes out, we are the soul, and we are going to another body. And who knows what is the reason which body we will get. Yes, Isa. Karma. Another idea? Okay. Yes, I have a very educated group here. Yes, the Bhagavad Gita says that karma is the, what it is called, the crucial point in which what next body we will get. Yeah? So, any one of you can explain in 2-3 sentences what is the idea of karma?
If I remember correctly, then it's a kind of point system on how many good or bad things you've done, like how pure your karma is, and depending on how pure it is at the end of your life, you reincarnate as something or something else, depending on how pure or impure it is.
Yeah. Yes, that is true. To explain it, that was very good, but to explain it more precisely is karma, the exact translation of that word is action and reaction. So we also have this in the physics. You have in your physics courses, there is this law of action and reaction. For instance, if I push this alarm clock with some certain force, it will fall 30 centimeters. If I use more force, it will fly 3 meters. So you can calculate everything. According to the action, you will get a respective reaction. So this is all on the physical level. We can make our calculations. But how about our moral behavior? You have thought about this in your life? Also, our moral behavior will create reactions. To give you one example, suppose there is a murder in the court, yes? And he has killed someone with a gun. So the judge will ask him, so, why do you have killed this poor lady? And he will say, well, I pushed that, I don't know what the name is, I pushed that little thing and... Trigger. I pushed or pulled this trigger and then some bullet came out and then this thing happened. So I'm not guilty. I just pulled that trigger. Yeah? So still the judge will say, no, that is not what the question is. Our interest is not how you did it, more is the question why you did it. So maybe on the battlefield sometimes we shoot someone and we gotta get a gold medal for it, for being very brave in the war. The same action can bring us to prison lifelong, or even we get hanged in some countries. So you see the moral intention is also in our daily life is full of meaning. The same goes in regards of reincarnation. That means if you live a life where you give pleasure and happiness to others, yeah, then the result will be in your next life you can have a nice birth, maybe in Lithuania or in Czech Republic, and not maybe in a very horrible place. Or you will get a very healthy, beautiful body. Or you become very intelligent. But if you do harm to other creatures, human beings, the Vedas even speak of animals and nature in general, then in our next life we will suffer the reactions. So we will experience the same suffering we have created to other living beings. So this is also, I think, quite interesting in regard of environment, and this is a word I will not, in this lifetime, I will not learn probably. Environmental. Okay. So I think most people, they are not aware of this law of karma, and they think they can do with other human beings, but also with animals or with nature, they can do whatever they like and nothing will happen. Do you agree that many people think like that? So there is no awareness that we have to take responsibility. So sometimes, I don't know, who of you is going to those Fridays for future gatherings? Sometimes. I was there once. So I want to present you a little provoking thought. You see those teenagers, they are accusing the adults. You have left this poisoned world for us. Yeah? We have to take over the mess you have left because you were so irresponsible. Now our fate is now we have to deal with all this environmental problem. So my provoking thought is, if there is reincarnation, for instance, I was born in the year 1972 in Hamburg. This is in North Germany. And we have a beautiful river there, River Elbe. And I was not allowed, when I was a child, I was not allowed to swim in that river. And I was so frustrated. And my parents told me, no, the river is so poisoned, there is so much toxic poison in that river, you should not take a bath there. Now it has become better, but I was very upset. But now, today I think maybe in my last life, I did something against Mother Nature, that I was not allowed to swim in that beautiful river in my childhood. What do you think about this thought? Maybe a little bit provoking. So my thought sometimes is, who knows? Who knows what you have done what you as the soul, what you have done in your last life to take birth in the year, I don't know, 2010 or 2001, I don't know, what is your year of birth, 2002, 3, or in my case 1972. If I was born in 2003 like you, I could happily swim in the river Elbe. But no, I was born 30 years before, and so you get my point. That is my question sometimes, because no one of us, according to the law of karma, is getting reactions that we do not deserve. So that should not be a reason for excuses that we don't try to change the problem. Of course, we have to do that. However, we cannot fade this out according to the Vedic understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, I think we can make a cut here, and our idea is that you might have some questions. We can discuss maybe something burning in your heart.
I have a question. So, according to the religion, so how many times can a person resurrect? Is it an eternal process, or is there a number, and what happens afterwards? How many times this resurrection happens?
You mean how many times one has to take birth? Okay. Very interesting question. Mm-hmm. Yes, this is also discussed in the Bhagavad Gita. I will read one verse for you. This is in the 8th chapter, verse number 5 and 6. 2 verses actually. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samatbhavam yati nastyatra sangshayaha. And whoever at the end of his or her life, or the soul is not necessarily male or female. And whoever at the end of his life, here's the general male gender, quits his body, remembering me, or God, alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. And the second one is, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, is another name of Arjuna, that state he will attain without fail. So in other words, our consciousness at the time of death determines where we will go. And when our consciousness is totally absorbed in God consciousness, then we can go to the place where God is. And Krishna promises, if you go to that place, you will not take birth again here in this material world. You will get your original spiritual body that is Sat Chit Ananda, that is full of knowledge or wisdom, full of bliss and happiness, and full of eternity. It will never die. It never will get old or diseased. So our consciousness at the time of death determines our next destination. So you might think, oh, that's very easy. We can do anything and everything during our life, think about everything and anything, and then at the time of death, I will think of nice flowers, or of God, or I don't know, and then I will go there. Is this the system or the procedure? Will this work?
Yeah, it's not, because you have to have good things all of your lifetime. Yes.
It's like, I don't know, is it called exam, Abitur? Exam? Final exams. I think in a few months or years you will head for the final exams in your secondary school, isn't it? So in one sense, the final exam is a complete package of all what you have learned, I don't know, 12 years. So if you failed or if you missed very crucial or important lessons, let's say in your 5th school class, and another one in the 7th and in the 9th, then at the time of your final exam, it can happen that you are failing the whole thing because you were not that serious. So in the same way, the time of death is like our final exam. And many people who have so-called near-death experiences, they were clinical death, but they came back. And some of them, or many, it is documented, they tell that their whole life was rushing in a few seconds or in a very short time. Their whole life was rushing by. They could see their whole life when they were a child and very crucial experiences. So, and that together created that consciousness at the time of death.
So that means the number is not limited. When you are already there,
yeah, it's like if you failing the test, you have to come back and try again. Which is, in some sense, it's fair. Maybe that is something that distinguishes Hinduism from other religions. In other religions, there are often, two options after death. You go down for eternal into hell, or you go eternally to heaven. No, the Bhagavad Gita says you just have to take the reactions for your behavior. Yeah? I personally, for me that is way more comfortable and also way more logical. I can see this in my daily life, this principle, so why not beyond? Anything else?
How does human created in this religion how does human created from where is it's
human beings?
Yes.
From where they are created?
Yes, from where they're coming.
Okay. Yes, the Vedas say that God has created the material world, and it is not in India or in Hinduism you have what we call, it is monotheism. There is one God, Supreme God, but below the Supreme God there are so-called demigods. Like you have it in the old Greece and in Rome, and also in the Germanic religions, and I think in Slavic and Lithuania, you have all this idea that there is a God for the weather, and then there is a God for the rain, and so you have this in Hinduism, but there is one supreme one. And interestingly, the word Deus, this is Latin, or Deo, this means God, comes from Sanskrit, Deva. So often V is turned into a U. So Deva means God. This is Sanskrit. A name for Krishna or Vishnu is Deva. So with some logic, who of you can tell me or us what this means?
The God of all gods. And the God of all gods.
Yes. And another word is Maheshwara. Maha, maybe you have heard Mahatma Gandhi. Maha means big or great. The Latin word magna comes from Maha. And then we have Ishvara. Ishvara means the Lord. So God is called Maheshwara. Who can explain what this word means? Great Lord. Someone of you has an idea? Okay. Ishvara means the Lord, and Maha means the great Lord. So in some sense, we are all, to some degrees, we are a Lord, or what is the female version, lady, I don't know. We have some power. We came here to Marienthal, we can make some decisions, what we want to wear, or who should be our friends and who not. We have some control. We all have some Ishvara capacity. And God is called Maheshwara, the greatest of all the lords. So, coming back to your question, is that God has not, according to Hinduism, God has not created the world alone, but He has ordered many demigods to create the world, different departments. So it took a long time, and at one point the human beings came into existence. We could have a 1-week seminar about this topic. I have one question. We have spiritual practitioners, like I think we can call us spiritual practitioners. We practice a religion. Then we have persons, they like religion but don't practice it. Then we have people who are agnostic. Do you know what an agnostic is? It is a person who is not sure if he believes in God or not. He has not made his decision. Then we have an atheist who... I make two differentiations. There is the atheist, and then there is the anti-theist. I think we should differentiate between an atheist and an anti-theist. I myself sometimes wie sagt man? Erwischen. Was heißt erwischen auf Englisch? Ich erwische mich. I find myself sometimes in a situation where I recognize I behave like an atheist. I have totally forgotten that there is God. Sometimes we missed a train yesterday, and I was just, oh, the train, and I was just checking out all the tables, and at one point I thought, maybe there's God, He can help you. So I find myself in that situation where I became atheistic. I forgot God. Then we have the anti-theist. He or she does not just forgot. Sometimes anti-theists, they think the whole day and night about God, but in a inimical attitude. You get my point? So you don't have to answer that question, but maybe we can all ask ourselves to what kind of group we belong, and even in between there is space. Okay. So before we start with our mantra meditation, who can remember that first verse I have directly quoted from Bhagavad Gita? This picture might help you. Give it a try.
Okay, like word for word or just a general idea?
If you can do it word for word.
But it's the idea that just like our body ages and transitions from childhood to adulthood, the soul also transitions from body to body after death.
Okay. We agree? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, thank you. So these are all names of God. We have 3 names. Hare, this is the vocative. In Sanskrit there are many, like in German, nominative, accusative. Yeah? So in Sanskrit we have 8 cases. Can you believe that?
Yes, we have 7.
In which country?
Latvia.
Latvia.
In Poland there are 7 too.
Wow. Yes, I have heard that Polish is a very sophisticated language, very difficult. So in Sanskrit we have even 8 cases. When we address a female, often the A turns into an E. So this is derived from hara, and interestingly in Hinduism or in the Vedic scriptures, God is not only masculine, it has also a feminine feature. So, like you see in this world, there's an attraction, an eternal attraction between the male and the female, isn't it? Since time immemorial, we listen to those pop songs, "She loves you, yeah," and other, or so many novels. So this male and female story is coming from the absolute spiritual world. So there's also an eternal love story. So Hara is the female part. Krishna is the name of God, the all-attractive. And Rama, also very interesting, the translation is the source of all happiness. So in God we have the source of everything that makes us happy. Shivatma makes a very interesting point that in our tradition we believe that we cannot come to God without addressing the female part of God and get her mercy.
Aus Tschechien, aus Polen, aus Österreich, aus Deutschland, aus England. Und da gibt es tausende Devotees und die tanzen alle nach diesem Mantra. Was meint ihr, was da los ist?
You could follow? we just have been to India. 3 weeks ago we came back, and there was a gathering. There were thousands of devotees. We call ourselves devotees from all different countries, and we played or we sang the song and we danced. And that is also explained in the Vedic scriptures that for our age, we are living in a very problematic age. We call it the Kali Yuga. The most powerful way to have happy thoughts, being kind to others, and to connect with God is by gathering together and sing the names of God. It does not have to be a Hindu name. We are not those people who say this is the only religion and everything else is demoniac and from the Satan. No, we are not those persons. We say there are so many ways to God. He has so many names. Why should we fight? Let's take this nice, beautiful place, Marienthal. Some of us, we came with the car. Some of us, we came with the train. And some of you came with the aeroplane. Greta Thunberg came with the sailboat. So we can take the way we like. Maybe we want to come very fast here, we take the plane, but maybe we want to see the nature, we can go with the bicycle. So in the same way, we can approach God in many ways or address Him with many names. So that is our final message. This whole presentation is not to, make an advertisement. Join our religion. Give up your religion that is from the Satan. This is so foolish. No, our final message is, if you like your religion, if you feel some, inspiration, stick to your religion, sing the names of God in whatever language and whatever name you have for Him, and this will bring your consciousness to the highest level. Thank you.
You don't have the concept of hell, only the concept of heaven, yeah?
No, we also in the Vedas also hell is actually described.
Really? So but if nobody goes there, so why? Or
No, we can go there. The difference is that hell in Hinduism is not eternal. That means if you really did hellish things, there are people
if you
torturing.
again and again, you still you go to hell, but you can.
You stay there until your bad karma is burnt up. And then you come back again here to earth, and then you have another chance. So, but there is not that idea that you have to burn in hell forever. That is just, you have children.
Yes.
Imagine your child did something wrong, and sometimes you have to punish your child so that some important lesson will take place, some understanding. Which parent will punish the child forever? What chance is there for a child to understand the message and then, okay, I have understood, I should change my behavior or my attitude. But when you punish a child forever, then the child will never get the chance to learn something by this.